Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. Just making sure we're ready for today. I can see it's just going live on our page in the group now as we speak. Muriel, how's it looking on YouTube at the moment? Is it coming?
We're live on YouTube.
Yeah, good. And on the page, I think we should be showing us live now.
On our page, let me refresh.
Yeah, good. That's all working. Right. I won't keep on looking at that because it's very distracting to see yourself in a time delay as well, which anyway, I'll tell you what, I don't know, for those of you who've joined us already, if you could very kindly introduce yourselves in the chat, that you probably by now already know the drill. So Alan, thank you very much for joining us. By the way, Alan, I think it was yourself yesterday saying something about email, because I was discussing with Muriel this morning. Can you just check? Well, perhaps we'll just possibly drop Muriel an email after today, because if you didn't get a reminder, it's either because the email's going into your spam, or alternatively, maybe we've got a different address registered for you. So, so it did sort of occur to me that we haven't perhaps answered your question. Okay. Oh, good. Okay, that's brilliant.
Yeah, I did actually email Alan this afternoon and
good, lovely.
Out, so yeah.
All right. So, Muriel, have you been wandering on the beach today? Along the beach today?
No, unfortunately not. We took receipt of our furniture, our 3-piece suite, which they got one piece in difficultly. The second piece, they had to remove the downstairs loo door and really force it in. We thought the windows were going to have to come out, but
oh, that's funny. Right, so if anyone else has joined us already, we're starting a little bit early. I think I can see a number of people coming in online now as we speak. If you just very kindly introduce yourselves in the chat. Remember, if you come in via the Facebook group rather than Facebook page, just to always put your first name and last name in the chat so we know it's you. If it's via the page or via YouTube, then things should be absolutely fine. And this is also being streamed out via Periscope as well. Hello, Leroy. It's nice to see you as well. And we've got a few more coming through as well, I think, as we speak. So let's just go back a second. So I guess, has anyone got any thunderstorms that might have interest? I think Scotland's supposed to have got slightly different weather today, but is anyone experiencing any thunderstorms? It's interesting to know. I can see we've got a few more people coming on as we speak, and we're about to start in about 2 minutes' time. Who else we got now? We've got Keith. Keith, good to speak with you again, following on from that time there. Sorry, good, thank you. And we've got Keith as well. Brilliant. Leroy, welcome. David, welcome. I'm glad you've been able to make it. Thank you very much. And who else we got here that's coming through? We got Ellen. Talking about you earlier on, taking myself there, didn't mean to do that. Yeah, so no, it's all very exciting. In fact, I should leave it to you, Muriel. I'm getting in the way because you're supposed to be in control of the message flow, aren't you? So.
Afternoon all with no name. Who's this? Let's have a look.
So who's afternoon all, whoever you are, please identify yourself. So good. Right, so let's have a look here. We're going live in about 1 minute. So bring that up. So I'll let you bring up any comments now as people engage, if that's okay. Good. So welcome everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. Hopefully you've enjoyed it so far. We've got to have another 55 seconds to go. I think Facebook runs about 15 or 20 seconds behind. I think YouTube runs up to 40 seconds behind live. It slightly can be a little bit confusing. Let's have a look here. So we've got quite a few more people logging in as we speak. So we're going to get less live in 40 seconds. So again, just introduce yourself in the chat, please, everyone. First name, last name. Very Andrews and Muriel, she's got herself a really nice new suite. Although I think Muriel was saying that possibly one of the pieces of furniture was a little bit too big for your room, wasn't it?
No, we've got used to it now. It's starting to look smaller.
Oh, okay. So it's very, very nice. Okay, so I think we've got Alexandra online with us as well, Muriel, is that right? Is that right, Muriel?
Sorry, what, Rupert?
Yeah, we've got a few more coming on as we speak, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. We've got Mandy, we've got Ali, we've got Michael, and if I haven't said hello to any of you, I apologise. Right, my fingers are working 10 to the dozen here.
Okay, good. Right, well, I think it's now 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock and 15 seconds to be precise. I know what time it's showing on Facebook or YouTube. So let's get started. We've got quite a bit of content to share with you today, in reality. So I'm going to be quite challenged to make sure that we cover everything in time, but I will do my best to make sure we run to the clock. The reason that we've got so much content is there's actually really two distinct parts to this live stream. The first part really is also about the social selling blueprint for sales success. And the next part, as you would expect, is really everything to do around LinkedIn. Obviously very complementary to each other, but it's just worth knowing. So what we're going to be covering today is why knowing your markets is so vital to sales success, how to grow your business with no expensive pay-per-click, and how to build or destroy, for that matter, the currency of trust, and we'll explain why that is so important online. We'll also discuss the lead generation system, prospect nurturing, and sales optimization systems. And we will also explain how you can get high value clients through LinkedIn as well. And as a quick reminder, for the best experience, ideally go to the Facebook page, which is facebook.com/businessgrowthbureau.com/Facebook, and that will take you straight to the page. Next best experience is through YouTube Live. You've got the URL down there. And if you're more comfortable in the group, by all means, stay there as well. Now, the feed will actually feed in all the live chats from all the different channels. But what you might see is two of me coming up. And that's because I'm sharing my account with Muriel. It's very confusing, but there we go. Now, basically, we're here to support you, really, with, first of all, working to grow you as a person and within your business context, grow your business, help you to scale your business if that's what you want. Not everyone wants to scale their business, equally lots do. And also we'll explain, we're very interested in working with people on the social selling blueprint. But the central thing is everything has to revolve around your customers and prospects. You have to make sure your products are all well aligned. And of course, you've got a clear marketing mix, marketing proposition to reach your ideal target clients. So as a point of interest, we're really interested to know, what is your biggest marketing challenge at the moment? Is it getting more leads? Is it actually, once you've got those leads, being able to nurture those leads and turn them into hot prospects? Or is it actually more a case of closing those sales opportunities down? If you could just indicate in the chat, and remember, if you're in the group, just to put your name in as well, that'd be really good. And what we'll do is try and pick out a few of those along the way. Muriel will try and interact with the chat directly as much as possible. If I don't personally have a chance to deal with every single question, please bear with me. And moving on from that, if you could just indicate through the chat, would be brilliant. What we're going to be covering today as well is how to grow your sales pipeline with predictability, reclaim your time, and build growth into your business. Now, they're going to be discussing a whole range of strategies around that. And it's going to be in this context, and this is a very important thing, we'll show you how you can generate from every 100 cold leads in your chosen target market, how you can turn those into 8 to 13 hot prospects overall. So if it's 500, obviously multiply those by all those figures by 5. Whatever your numbers are, you can scale and grow that as much as you want. And we can discuss strategies with you on that. We'll also show you how you can do this without paying for any pay-per-click whatsoever. And through a very direct but personal approach, we'll also explain how you can increase your profits by attracting high-value clients, leverage your time to do so you can do more build work and build scale much more into your business. And this is under what we class the social selling blueprint. So we'll work with you so you can find your ideal leads in your chosen target markets, connect, have meaningful conversations through a 5-message process. And we'll also explain as well how you can get people warmed up so they're actually asking to have sales-based conversations, and notice the emphasis on the word asking. Okay, so moving on a bit from there, we talked about being no expensive pay-per-click. So if we just look at some of these as a case in point, fundamentally you keep your hard-earned cash in your pocket. The strategy we talk about here are a very direct personal approach, and you keep money in your pocket. What we do recommend you do is, we're going to use LinkedIn for it, is that you do upgrade to Sales Navigator on LinkedIn. LinkedIn Premium does sort of work, but it's missing some key functionality. Okay, so and there's only about a £10 a month price difference. Okay, and I'll explain why this is so important in just a moment. And one of the things to bear in mind with pay-per-click advertising is that on the positive side, you can test with very small amounts of money. Okay, so that is good. However, in practical terms, to get any meaningful results, you do need to have a little bit of a budget to determine what's working on the pay-per-click. There are typically multiple points of failure. One of the biggest challenges is that when someone gets onto your website, you've typically got less than 5 seconds to grab someone's attention. Okay, so what that basically means is your website needs to be very highly optimized, have very highly optimized landing pages. And you'll notice there I've used the word pages in the plural. Okay, a lot of people think, oh, I'll just direct people to my homepage on my website or one landing page on my website, and that's good enough. Invariably, it's not, because what will actually happen is that Google and other platforms you may drive traffic to, what they expect is that landing page to be very highly optimized based around the key phrases you've actually searching against as part of a pay-per-click campaign. 10 years ago, you could get away with one landing page and get a reasonable rate of return. These days, it may well be why they've got to have perhaps one landing page which has got a lot of intelligence built in, so it actually knows what key phrase is being used, and therefore will actually change the wording on the landing page dynamically. Okay, it's quite a different approach. It is a bit complex, but once it's done, it can be highly effective. Why again is that so important? Well, what you'll find is Google uses its own scoring algorithms to rate the page. If they don't feel that it's getting the right type of traction and people are staying on the page long enough, effectively you get penalized for that. So that's one well-optimized landing pages are really important. So not just one, potentially lots of them. And if you don't have lots of them, you need to have something which has got a lot of intelligence built in around the key phrases to make that work. So you need to have a well-optimized sales system and process. So when people opt in as well, that you've got a journey you could take those prospects through. Otherwise, you are literally pouring money down the drain. Okay, so it's just worth bearing that in mind. Okay, so and I know also that through bitter experience, because before we ever offer anything to any client, we'll always do extensive testing ourselves. I learned through failing, probably like many people do. You very quickly learn the hard way how to get things wrong. So the big thing is trying to short circuit that so you can cut a lot of those problems out. So why use LinkedIn? Well, there's 675 million people on LinkedIn. Now, obviously, that doesn't go anywhere near Facebook. Facebook's got over 2 billion people on the platform. About 100 on LinkedIn, there's 130 million or so in the US, and about 25 million profiles in the UK on LinkedIn. So even if you said 5 or 6 million profiles are pretty dormant, that's still 19 million. And the thing is that now this is also true, but it's basically LinkedIn is the #1 business professional social network out there. Also, the average person on LinkedIn tends to earn way above the national average wage. Okay, and this figure I'm about to release now is directly from LinkedIn themselves, but businesses are targeting business to business through LinkedIn, so that 80% of the social media leads come from LinkedIn in a B2B context. Now, B2B, it's very easy with this to generalize too much. What I would talk about here is it could be business to charity or business to third sector. Equally, because we're all individual consumers on LinkedIn and you're communicating at a personal level, certain personal products or services can also be very effective. You can be very effective for finding clients on LinkedIn as well, but probably a bit too much for today's presentation to cover that. Fundamentally, we're all individuals that buy stuff. And as a rough guide, if the average number of people with first level connection LinkedIn is 400 connections. So if you've got 400 connections yourself as first level connections, your reach is 60 million people. If you've got 1,000 connections as first level connection LinkedIn, that increases to about 160 million. If you've got about 2,500 connections, that increases to around about half the LinkedIn network, once you get up to about 5,000 connected to LinkedIn, it's about 2/3 to 3/4. So, and you might say, well, why is that so important? The reason being is that as your reach increases, you're able to do a lot more highly targeted segmentation in terms of trying to find your ideal clients. Okay, so if we just took this, how do I know these figures? It's quite an easy one to work out. So if, let's say, you got 600 connected to LinkedIn, if you took 600, multiply it by 400, and then multiply it by 400 again, that is roughly your reach on LinkedIn. Okay, so you can get a calculator out. You'll probably find the actual number of noughts go off the end of your calculator, but you'll get the point. Okay, now of course you can only reach tiny segments of those, because LinkedIn, are not going to give you that type of direct access. And in fact, to be frank, people wouldn't want it either, because it would become basically a massive spamming network. So engagement at the moment is higher than ever, probably helped, ironically enough, by the current situation that we find ourselves in. So let's move on a little bit from now. Now, a couple of these slides I went over a little bit on Monday or Tuesday, so I'm not going to go into detail, but one of the things we did talk about, what we estimate that only about 25% of profiles are properly optimized, and that reason is that LinkedIn want you to optimize your profile so it looks like a glorified CV. If you're looking for a job, do it the way LinkedIn wants you to do it. If you wanted to use LinkedIn as a serious business tool, you need to optimize it differently. I will be showing you how to do that a little bit later on. And what we'll be covering today is about how to increase sales through defining and owning your market. We'll also explain how to present yourself as the expert so you don't, and explain the importance of not hiding anymore, the importance of the social selling blueprint, and also knowing your numbers. And we'll cover all those good things. Now, I think just for a second, to give everyone a little bit of a breather, what might be nice, Muriel, is just to pick out some of the questions or feedback that have come from people. Do you want to just try and cover some of those off now?
Yeah, there was quite a few, actually. I'm looking for David's. Where's David? David made a great comment.
Okay.
Also nurturing leads into prospects.
Yes. Okay, David, I think we'll be answering that directly a bit later on. So if you don't mind, I'll save that one for a bit later. Other ones, Muriel?
Yeah, we've got, and I have to check. Oh, Kevin. Kevin's biggest marketing challenge is getting a business off the ground.
Right. Okay. Obviously, Kevin, that's helpful, but it doesn't tell me. I don't know anything about your business. So, what type of clients you're looking to serve. What's your overall product proposition? But the good thing is from today you will actually get some major insights from this. So hopefully that'll be really helpful to you. Other things that people have told us as challenges.
Yeah, Ali, my biggest marketing challenge is to identify clear messages that attract my perfect client amidst all the free noise, as we discussed yesterday.
Yeah, got it. Okay, again, we'll cover lots of that later. Okay, thank you. That's a really good indication. Other ones, Muriel?
Yeah, just looking. Yeah, now this is quite interesting from Lucy.
Okay.
Biggest marketing challenge. Most, if not all, of her work is referrals within a specific sector, where my referrals think of me as an expert and I have a long-term relationship, which is great. She wants to diversify into other sectors to help her business be more resilient, which, yes, of course.
Yeah, that is a lovely one, actually. And Lucy, if you don't feel at the end of today I've covered that properly, do remind me at the end, okay? And also set a bit of context as well, so we know which sector you're looking to target. The good thing is from today's session, we will work with you so you actually understand about segmentation, how to reach those type of people. And really what you want to do as far as your strategy is concerned over this is continue with what you're doing at the moment, because clearly it's work if you're generating referrals. But the trouble is with referrals, they tend to be very, very lumpy. So sometimes you get 2 or 3 at once, then it can be like the Sahara Desert for 2 or 3 months. Okay, so what you want to do is have strategies in place which generate a continual lead flow of opportunities to you. And then obviously that makes a massive difference. So that's a lovely one, Lucy. Thank you. So we'll cover that a bit later on.
One more there. I think this is from Michael Shepherd. We're something of a niche product supplier, and the biggest challenge is to identify those people who have a real need for our product offering. For instance, obtaining quality leads.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Now, I notice you emphasised that with the word quality leads. Okay. Now, is it Michael Muro?
Yes.
Okay. So Michael, obviously, I know your market fairly well because we've worked together on a number of different things. So it's a great question. Michael, if Michael doesn't mind me saying, which I'm sure he doesn't, is very, very specialised. In his particular case, he wants to reach wholesalers, which are giving routes to market. There might be only 1,000 in the UK, or potential resellers. Okay, so in that case, it is naturally more challenging, especially trying to find the ones which are interested in that product, service, or widget. But that's, ironically enough, where LinkedIn again can be very good. But what you have to do is have a process which helps people to filter themselves in or out, and then from that will lead to some really good conversations. But we'll come on to that a little bit later on as well. Any last ones before we move on?
No, bless her. Was it Shirley was in the wrong room? What do you? What? She was on the wrong day. Bless. she got here in the end, though. Welcome, okay. Shirley.
Okay. No, I love that. It's so easily done. It's so easily done. In fact, we were having a conversation before today because I'm not quite sure why this is the case, but if you go on the page, it's much more intuitive to find these live streams than in a group. It's like some of the interface in the groups are not quite as sophisticated as they are on the page. But anyway, it's just useful insight for all learning all the time, aren't we? So no worries there. Okay, so moving on a little bit now. So we've already talked about this, but the crucial thing here, and this answers your question, I think, Lucy, fairly well, or will help to answer it. It's about, with all of this, putting in place a really good, predictable system, which is repeatable, which will generate these results month in, month out. Okay, and that's the way you need to look at this, because it goes back to what we talked about earlier on about peaks and troughs. And it's the usual thing, especially in the coaching, mentoring space. People get busy, they go subscribe, they take their foot off the pedal. Surprise, surprise, because people haven't been nurtured over those periods of time. Then, of course, those leads and opportunities actually dry up. Okay, so you almost need this continual process working all the time to create this lead flow. So you've got a continual flow of new opportunities coming through, and that complements the referral process that people go through as well very well. And it also helps to deal with this COVID type scenario, because you already want to be in a position where you're oversubscribed, basically. So you're able to choose your clients and serve the ones you think make the biggest difference to. So a few things that business owners should know. Now, I'm not going into detail particularly on these, because we discussed these earlier on this week, and that's available via the earlier recordings. But we talked about important peaks, to understand peaks and troughs. I suspect we're going to have some fairly strong peaks and troughs over the coming 6 to 9 months. We'll be actually discussing quite a bit this tomorrow, because obviously, the lockdown is being eased now. There may well be a second wave. There could even be a third wave. Okay, if I was having a conversation with someone who's on this call today about this very point yesterday. And then we also talked about trying to work it. So your business development resource, and if that happens to be you, then you shouldn't be looking. It applies to you particularly. Then you need to make sure that instead of having to work with cold leads all the time, that you've got people warmed up so they're actually asking to have those conversations. And that way, can you see how much more efficient it is on the right-hand side than the left? Also, to be frank, it's a damn sight easier. And if you hate sales, which some people do hate sales, or they feel it's not an appropriate time to sell, then the nice thing is you switch the dynamic around. You've actually got people asking to speak with you. And what more could you really ask? So it's much more fun to fish in many ways rather than hunt. Hunting can be fun for a while, but you very quickly burn yourself out. So it's about trying to make things as easy and straightforward as possible. And it's about putting yourselves in complete control of the sales process. So clients, you've got them available on demand with predictability, and obviously asking for your product or service. And it's also important to understand the invisible glass ceiling generating new business. So, for example, I was discussing, I think a couple of days ago, but Muriel remembered this. About 2 years ago, we got to what we class an invisible glass ceiling. Now, wasn't in our case to do with generating leads. It was more a case that we established at the time we couldn't, with existing resource, which is based on 3 of us at the time, plus 14 in the Philippines, we couldn't service more than about 15 clients simultaneously at the time. And then we started to relook at all what we were doing, what we were giving our clients. And actually it did us a really big favor, because what we realized is by actually adapting our service a little bit, ironically enough, the clients are getting a much higher service now, or shortly after we made this change, I should say, than they were before. But instead of being invisible glass ceiling being 15, it actually was about 35 to 40 people simultaneously. Now, every business under normal circumstances will have hit invisible glass ceilings, because you'll find that it gets to a point where suddenly not only do you need to recruit other team members, but you might need another layer of management to back that person up. And obviously the way you can deal with a lot of that is through systemization, which again we talked about yesterday, and also building in scalability from the ground up. But this applies also with your lead generation efforts too. We certainly could discuss some of those as you feel appropriate. The important thing is, in addition to giving you the 8 to 13 hot prospects for every 100 cold leads you're reaching out to with predictability, what you want to do is bring back the joy of running your business as well. So again, I'm not going to go into the detail on this, because we did talk about Michael the other day, but he is a good case in point. What he did in his particular case, he's very skillful what he does. He brought in a virtual assistant to help him, and we were in the engine behind the scenes helping to develop a really strong lead flow. Michael actually did a really good session on our live stream about 3 months ago, shortly after, I think about the 3rd or 4th week of our live streams, when COVID was at its height. And he talked about this whole reptilian mindset. So it's quite an interesting one if you want to visit any of the live streams and have a bit of a listen. I'm showing this as well. Obviously, this is an example of some slides, clients that we've served or are serving. And one of the reasons I'm showing this briefly for a moment is it's very small on this slide, so you can't really see it. But you'll notice we've broken down to financial services, insurance, business services, legal and accounting, coaching and consulting, technology and software, charities, events and hospitality. Now, in reality, it's much bigger than that now. And obviously, some of the clients you can see there are other things like PayPal Giving, which is one of the ones we're very pleased to serve, and a whole range of others. In reality, even those niches would be far too big. If you try and search for financial services on LinkedIn, the number of people you get coming up in financial services is absolutely vast, okay? The same with business services or technology and software. So in real terms, you have to micro-segment much more than that, but we'll go into that in a little while. So as I say, we're going to cover all these things. So just to bring it all back into context. And what we're going to be touching on now is how to define and own your market. And the important thing is, I hear so many people say that they're a bit of a generalist, okay? Whatever you do, if you are a bit of a generalist, and in a sense you could argue that we are to a degree, it's actually really important that people see you as being a specialist. And also that is being niche and micro-niche, and also have a suite of products and services to suit different price points, okay? Now you can get some further insights onto this in just a moment. But for example, if we took LinkedIn as a case in point, there's 147 industry classifications on LinkedIn. And what you need to be doing is thinking about your ideal avatar of clients, okay? Now, the industry sectors on LinkedIn are in many ways much better than using SIC codes. Many of the SIC codes are not really fit for purpose anymore, because they were actually, the whole system was put together about 60 years ago when the internet, for example, didn't even exist. So we tried to adapt it, but it's still a bit of a hodgepodge, if you don't mind saying. So the industry sectors on LinkedIn, 147 of those, if you base your business around a lot of those industry sectors, it's a really good thing to do. So it's also about presenting yourself as the expert and not hiding, and that includes the optimization of your profile, and also building your credibility and authenticity. And the way you can do that is by making sure that your profile is properly optimized. So if, for example, what you'll notice here, if you were to take mine as a case, or Claire's over here, or Muriel's, the first part leads into you, okay, because people do buy into you as an individual first, because it is your personal profile on LinkedIn. The second paragraph we tend to recommend is based around your company organization and your core proposition, and something that builds on your credibility, okay? Ideally, another nice tight paragraph might be a short second paragraph that follows on. then ideally 4, 5, 6 key pain points. So this is a really good exercise to try and put yourself in the position of your ideal clients. Think about their pain points, okay, and then think about how you can condense those down into something like between sort of 5 and 8 words, and that becomes part of your bulletized list. Then 5 or 6 key benefits, okay. Again, flip chart this if necessary, bring your team in to help you, okay. And then what you ideally want is something a bit of a sales hook. So it might be a bit of a giveaway, like a PDF, a diagnostic, a video, a thought leadership piece, whatever you want to share there. And then to make it clear how people can reach out to you as well. So including putting your phone numbers down there and your email address. The reason we say that is because although you can get to it under the contact information on your profile, people only can see that full information if they're a first level connection. Also, the other thing is, in real terms, what you want to do is design your LinkedIn profile to look like what would be a glorified one-page sales page. Now, it doesn't mean to say it should have lots of sales messages in there, but it's just about following principles of AIDA, which is attention, interest, desire, action, okay? So if it follows that format, that's really good. And then where you've got your current position, in effect, you need to put a slightly condensed version of that also under your current position, because what you'll notice in LinkedIn is when you get the about section is one of the first parts that people will look at, but it's condensed down. If they don't look at that, they'll scroll down and see your current position. So you want to be able to people to get to the nub of your proposition quickly, and also under your part here, the strap line. That's really important because Google indexes that very well. If someone's not in your network, Google will pick it up. Also, ideally, you need to have something which describes your role and what you do at your company, but like 5 words, 5 or 6 key words that summarize what your business is all about. It's surprisingly tough to do it, but think of what your strapline is and make sure that is actually there. So in our particular case, we put down your strategic partners in business, biz growth. Okay, that's our strapline. Okay, so hopefully that makes a bit of sense. Now, company pages are an interesting one. LinkedIn want you to have company pages, and there is a need to have those to a degree. But interesting enough, a lot of people never get as far as a company page. Okay, this is another reason why you need to make sure your profile is working really, really hard for you. If someone sends a connection request to you, or you find someone on LinkedIn, the first part you see is someone's profile. So just bear that in mind with what we're talking about here. Okay, so moving on a little bit from that. The other thing to do is to accelerate the relationship of trust. Okay, now obviously, if you go out networking, we talked about this the other day, and someone immediately goes and sells to you straight off the bat, they'd show no interest in you, that disenfranchises you to want to deal with that person. In fact, you certainly wouldn't want to refer. Now, for some reason, when people are doing things online, they seem to feel it's perfectly acceptable to do that when they're in an online environment. And the bottom line is that it's not. Okay. Now, again, I'm going to blame LinkedIn a little bit for this. If you give LinkedIn lots of money, you could do sponsored advertising. LinkedIn will encourage you to go out with a sales message. Well, LinkedIn, unfortunately, are very good at sometimes scoring their own goals. What they forget, it is about building that relationship, okay? Because the truth is, and I hate that word, I won't use it anymore because politicians use it, okay? The fundamentals are that it's all about accelerating that relationship of trust, okay? Because that's how we like to tend to work and deal with each other. And the other way you can also present yourself as an expert is by making sure that people who you've done an excellent job with, they're very pleased with you, that you give them recommendations because you enjoy the relationship with them. LinkedIn on the plus side is very good at encouraging reciprocity. Okay, so the person will be encouraged to give a recommendation back. Okay, now unlike endorsements on LinkedIn, which actually don't count for anything, recommendations people will look at. That's really important. It positions the expert. Also look at what you can put there. You know, your videos, PDFs. You know, again, that all gets well shared on LinkedIn. Also the social selling blueprint, so the lead generation, prospect nurturing, sales optimization systems that we've sort of talked about. So this is the 3 cogs, as we call them. So the social selling blueprint, 3 cogs. Now, if you imagine 3 cogs, invariably what you've got in many cases is that many businesses find that one or several of those cogs are not turning. And guess what? If one of those cogs is not turning, it stops everything working. Okay, just bear that in mind. Imagine 3 cogs all got to turn in sync. Okay, so you might be the best salesperson in the world, but you've got no leads coming in, then obviously you've got no prospect leads to nurture or prospects to nurture. They're never going to get as far as you. Equally, if you try and sell too early in the prospect nurturing process, you're going to put people off. Okay, they will want to engage with you. Also, if you target the wrong type of people, you're never going to have a really good lead flow of opportunities coming through. So this is more about, now we're moving much more on to segmentation, how to try and find these ideal type of clients. So I think what we might do, Muriel, is just pause for a second, just to give people a chance to ask some questions. Have you been able to identify a few people, Muriel, we could bring up?
Not really, actually, Rupert, because I think everyone's concentrating so much on what you're saying, very little to come through. There's a bit of a discussion about LinkedIn, whether it's the way to go.
Okay. Well, let's bring one of those up. I love a challenge. So let's
let me have a look. Who was it from? This one, which I'll tell you the name in just a moment. Sorry, let me look for the name.
Right. Okay, so can you read? Yeah, Muriel, normally read them out. Suddenly, LinkedIn may be heading to the way of Twitter and other forums. There may be a significant increase in it becoming a flaming platform with the usual internet spite increasing, especially since lockdown. Take a few of execs I mentor. They are giving up on LinkedIn as others are using a phone directory. Now, who's saying that, Muriel? Of interest?
I'm just trying to find it. I can't. There's only showing me 4 on screen.
Do us a favour. Can you just try and put in your first name and last name if you're coming by the group, because some of you may well know, so it helps me to bring context to everything. Okay, so I'd agree with that to an extent, but unfortunately I don't agree with you on other respects. Fundamentally, people need to see LinkedIn as a business-to-business platform. At the end of the day, we're here to help and serve people, but also we're here we need to put money on the to earn money, so we put food on the table. Okay. Now, you're quite right in a number of senses that there's a lot more activity on LinkedIn now, and that's being increased by what the environment we find ourselves in now. And you may well find, as you say, that some more senior executives do choose to engage less on the platform. But equally, that's fine as well, because bear in mind what we talked about the other day is those people themselves. Muriel, can you just read the comments for a second, because I can remember this now. That people obscuring my face and yours.
Right, hang on.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so thank you. So basically, the point I was trying to make around that is that by being able to engage the people in the right way, it's not necessarily the chief executive you're after or the director. It's about trying to find the people around them as well. So do see LinkedIn as being a serious business tool, but remember it's a social media platform, and therefore you need to be social in the way you engage with people. Okay, and that's really, really important. In fact, it'd be really interesting to see actually. I mean, I know roughly what the stats are. We in terms of ourselves, we find probably a quarter of our business comes from referrals, recommendations. The rest is split, but the rest is split like 2/3 coming via LinkedIn and the balance by email. Okay, and so LinkedIn is a really, really good business tool for finding new clients, but you just have to do it the right way. Okay, so you don't upset people. That's the important thing.
Okay, so Nikki's asking, can you link your LinkedIn profile with other social media platforms?
Well, one very good way is just to put links into your other social media platforms, perhaps on your profile, which could be one way to do it, in your blogs or articles. One slight comment I'd just give there: if you put an article or post on LinkedIn, it's not always a good idea to put third-party links to platforms outside of LinkedIn there, because LinkedIn will not give you the same form of outreach if you do that, because they don't like people taking people off the platform. Okay. So if you're going to do that, it's better just to put a little comment in afterwards with a couple of links there. Just simply say, Nikki, here's my Facebook handle or Twitter handle, whatever it may be, in a comment, rather than actually putting it always in the post or article, if that makes sense. And the same thing applies to videos as well, actually, by the way. If you upload videos to LinkedIn, don't try and put your YouTube link in there, okay? And the same applies to Facebook for that matter, because these platforms don't like you taking them away from the platform. They want people to stay in there as long as possible because they make money from advertising, okay? But what you'll find if you do that, do it in the right way, you'll get much higher rankings with your content. I've just inadvertently clicked my mouse and it zoomed right out, so just bear me a second. Apologize about that. Right.
Okay, David's asking, he was told, oh, sorry, I've clicked the wrong one, but okay, this is fine. I was told by a lawyer that it's illegal to sell via LinkedIn messaging. Is that correct?
Lovely one. If you ask that lawyer to contact me, unfortunately, it's a complete load of rubbish. So there we go. And what I just want to reassure everyone on that as well, because people will have opted in under LinkedIn's terms and conditions, and they've given their consent to be communicated with through LinkedIn, then again, it's fully compliant with GDPR. So I'm afraid that lawyer is just totally unaware of the real world we live in today. Okay.
This was the one I was trying to find from David. Is the LinkedIn SI score important?
It could be important. That's a lovely one. It could be important in terms of the ratings that people tend to give you, but in reality, it's a really interesting point actually, because if it's all about your profile. If you do your profile the way LinkedIn wants you to do it, you're going to be missing a lot of opportunities on LinkedIn. But interesting enough, if you were to look at my social selling index on LinkedIn, it's, I can't remember what it is now, I think about 40 or 50%, which is ridiculous. But that's because I don't use LinkedIn the way they want me to use it. Okay, we do post lots of social blogs and articles, but at the end of the day, it actually really isn't that important. It may be a bit more important if you're very dependent on content on LinkedIn and things like that. Okay, I really wouldn't worry about it too much. But it doesn't mean to say what they're saying isn't sound. A lot of what they're saying is very sound. They just take some of it a little bit pinch of salt because they've got their own agenda for wanting to do things as well. Okay.
Just one last one, Rupert, because this is quite important. Is paying for LinkedIn Premium important?
Right. Now, Michael, you may remember a bit earlier on, I was saying avoid premium if you can, go for Sales Navigator. The reason being is when Microsoft came along about 3 or 4 months afterwards, some of the functionality was moved up premium and it was already in Sales Navigator. So one of the things that's very important there actually is the ability to be able to tag records, things like that. So generally, I would not bother with Premium. Premium is an easier product to use, don't get me wrong, but Sales Navigator is much more powerful, okay? Right, now, I'm conscious of time, actually, because we've got a lot still to cover. So, Neil, could you just remove that comment? Sorry, I can just see the screen again. Is that all right? Thank you. Right, so with LinkedIn, this is an example of the Sales Navigator screen. That's not very clear, but what you will notice is the search criteria is can be very, very selective in there, okay? Some of the things you can do, for example, is you can search by a distance from a postcode, and that's much better than putting a town or country in for all sorts of reasons, which we're going to run out of time to explain today. Obviously, there's 147 industry sectors. You can search by level of seniority. You can search by years of experience. You can do key phrase search. There's all sorts of things you can do in there, okay? And what you'll be surprised about is you might search, for example, executive coaches, okay, I'm making this up. You might find 250,000 people have come up in the UK alone. If you then narrow it down and say, okay, let's bring all executive coaches within the 50-mile radius of London, a certain postcode in London, rather, I should say, that might drop that down to, I don't know, 40,000. You might say, okay, well, bring up just my second level connections or third level connections. That might reduce it down to 25,000. You might say, I just want to speak to people at director level and CXO level. That might reduce it to 5,000. You might say, okay, I'll do a key phrase search. That reduces down to 600 or 700. Now, the more niche you can get like that, the better. Okay, so just bear that in mind. So moving on a little bit from there. Now, this is an example of 5-message process. Okay, I can't go into a lot of detail here because of time, but with a connect request, it's very important that you don't just send out the standard connect request. It should be something you've personally drafted. It doesn't have to be personalized for each contact, but it just needs to, it should just look like the standard LinkedIn invite, okay? The next thing is with the permission to engage, it's about, with that one, not promoting a business. It's not about selling your business at this stage or product or service. It's about thanking someone for the connect request and saying, I've got a little bit of value I'd love to share with you. I've created this short PDF, or it might be a link to something on your website, and it's about sharing value. So it might be the top 7 questions that people pose when they're actually trying to raise mortgage finance, for example. Whatever it is, something of real value, and it may have your contact details there, but the idea is it should ideally provoke some thought in that person's mind so that they feel that you're potentially a bit of an expert in that space and they may want to engage with you, okay? The next message, if they haven't engaged at that point, would be, again, about going and saying something like, you may recall, I shared something with a PDF with you some days ago. I hope you found it useful. As a matter of interest, what is the particular challenge you're facing to do with, I'm making this up, recruitment, okay? So very short, very simple, okay? No sales message, no survey. Have you noticed how that's a very soft approach? You're trying to draw someone up so they want to engage with you. Now, if someone still hasn't engaged, then we suggest sending out what we class as a qualifying pitch message. That's a bit more direct, okay? But with this particular one, we'd recommend sharing something which is much more of a thought leadership piece. So it might be a 2 or 3 page PDF with no sales message, no whatsoever, but presents you as the expert and also shares massive amounts of value, okay? And then this particular one, you'd be a bit more direct and you'd put in the contact details in there, and you'd perhaps potentially suggest that it would be worthwhile perhaps a short 10 or 15 minute discovery call, okay? Now, after that, if there's still no engagement, then about 7 days later, we'd suggest sending out another message, which would go in with another very short killer question. No sales message, okay? Really, really important, okay? Now, what you'll find, if you adopt this methodology, for every 100 people you reach out to, between 30 and 50 people will accept your connection request, okay? Typically, it's about 30%. If it's in the charity space, it tends to be a little bit softer, so it might be close to 40, 50%. What you'll find then is a number of people at this stage, because your profile's well optimized, they will jump out and they may be a bit curious and want to have a conversation. Invariably, people are busy. We all get busy, and they may intend to engage with you, but they forget. So what we find is that if you send out a very short, thank you message, a message with a killer question in it, it's designed to provoke a conversation, then what you'll find is another group of people will actually put their hands up at that stage and say, I'm really curious, I've looked at your PDF, I'd love to have a bit of conversation, okay? So you'll find even the first 3 messages, you'll start to get some interest. By the time you go on to 5 levels deep, if someone still hasn't engaged, invariably people do, it gets further down the process. So it's a really nice software being able to engage with people without people feeling them being overtly sold to. Okay, so hopefully that's clarified things. Now, the vast majority of people give up after, in fact, the vast majority of people give up after the connect request. A smaller percentage actually will send out a permission to engage or thank you, but what they'll typically do is go out with a sales message. And unfortunately, that damages the network. It also damages your reputation. So it's very important to follow this process correctly. So moving on a little bit from there. So I've lost my mouse pointer again. So again, it is much easier to get people to the point where we're asking to have conversations. And it's also important that you know your numbers. Now, this is, I could actually spend 10 minutes just on this slide alone. Let's try and keep it a bit condensed. Now, imagine you're an accountant. In fact, I know we've got at least one on this call today, if not more. So let's say your average value of sale per client was £10,000 per year, okay? But allowing for churn or clients going bust on you or moving elsewhere, for example, it might be the average, that same client is worth 25,000 over 3 years, and basically perhaps lose some clients in the 4th and 5th years. You might be the same client to you on average is worth 35K, okay? So that's your numbers if you're an accountant, or if you've got a recurring revenue stream. Let's say you've got a software company with a recurring revenue stream. So what that basically means is that if you arrange 3 sales per month or 36 sales per year, based on these numbers, that would generate you in the first year £360,000 or dollars, whatever your numbers are. Over 3 years, 900,000. Over 5 years, 1.26 million. Okay, and that's just from 3 sales per month or 36 sales per year. Okay. Now you might say, well, I'm not an accountant, I'm not a technology software company, and so on. Okay, your numbers are going to be different. But let's say you've got a product or service which is £1,000, okay? And then you've got a secondary sale where someone makes a purchasing decision, perhaps 6 months later, where they buy something at £9,000, okay? That means in the first year, that's a £10,000 sale. It might well be that in year 2, they come back to you and they actually give you an order for something which is worth £50,000, okay? So that means your average value of sale over in the first year is 10,000. By the time you got to year 3, it's what you've achieved in year 1, plus in the second year, so that's worth 60,000. It's 50,000 plus 10,000, okay? So your numbers are going to be unique to your business. Why is this so important? Well, if you understand your numbers, you know how much you can afford to invest in getting leads, okay? So again, we know we've got an accountant here on this call today. What do you think an accountant would pay for a client if they got a £10,000 sale for that lead? What do you think? They might be prepared to invest almost a couple of £1,000s to get that lead or opportunity, because they know that client over 5 years is going to generate £35,000 worth of revenue, okay? Now, these are average figures, but it's important to understand that, because that will help you to determine what you spend on pay-per-click. If you're going to go down the route of you're going to look at LinkedIn as a case in point, then clearly, if you're going to put, for every pound you put in a slot machine, it's going to give you £10 back, you're going to keep on putting money on that slot machine, aren't you? So fundamentally, it's worthwhile understanding that key point. Now, obviously, we do have our own software solutions to help people with all this stuff called Lepsos. And also, I'm not going to go into any detail here today because it's not about sales. Today, it's about sharing value. Basically, we would show you, if you wanted support and help in this space, we can show you how to reach out to your ideal type of prospects and clients. We can give you training specifically for that. We can either run a campaign for you or with you, which is this part in the middle here. Actually, I don't think you can see my mouse pointer. Yes, there you go. So this part in the middle here is where we can give you a lot of leverage. We can do a lot of this work for you, or with you, I should say. But equally, you can do this yourself. We can show you how. We can even give you the tools to do it yourself and the technology. Okay, and the third part is really where I think we were asked a question several days ago about closing sales. Okay, now someone I think said, could I outsource that part of it? Now, I would generally never recommend outsourcing your sales part of the process. There are a few exceptions, and indeed I've got a lot of experience in that space. So I've equally outsourced myself and learned the hard way, not before Business Growth Bureau, but I've learned the hard way. And the reason being is I think if you know your product, service, and widget well, it should always be you, I'm not saying you personally, but perhaps your business development team, who are actually closing those opportunities down. They know your product or service. It can be a bit of a cop-out if you try and outsource that bit. But the bits in these first two parts, yes, bring in experts to help you with that space, and again, to give yourself leverage in those parts in the middle. But the very important thing is we feel the client should always be in control of that process. And that's very different from what a lot of other people out there, they'll perhaps try and take some of that away from you. But the difficulty is then you're going to have a lot of missed opportunities along the way. So again, not so much time to cover that now, but at least you get the gist. I'm not going to go to any case studies particularly, other than to say lady on the top left is the facts. I think a colleague was on the call on Monday, actually. Claire Burrows from Answercon. We've done quite a bit of work with her to help her to get clients. PayPal Giving, in fact, we've been working with the UK arm. We're actually working with the Australian arm at the moment to help them on the charity space. Susanna Schofield got an OB for a service Queen Country. Jubilee Selling Trust, we help them as a charity to get £270,000 worth of sponsorship over an 18-month period. And in fact, if you look on our website, you can see some of the charters that we did with them. And in fact, you see some pictures in this slide deck as well. Now, the other thing is, this does bring a bit of sense of context with all of this as well. And this is, I think, particularly an issue 2 or 3 months ago when COVID first hit. A lot of people started to go really in themselves. It was literally like rabbit in the headlights type stuff. People were thinking, okay, I better preserve cash. I need to look inwards. I'll focus on my website. I'll focus on my product development. I'll do all these other things. Anything but sales, okay? Now, obviously, you've got to be sensitive to people's situation. So, for example, when I have a conversation with someone, even now, even things have started to ease a little bit, I'll always start the conversation around that person I'll always ask loads of questions about that person. There's an expression about two years, one mouth. I actually argue it should be 4 years, one mouth. Okay, so ask lots of questions, show genuine interest, and that will serve you. But trying to opt away from conversation with prospects, clients, and so on can be a really bad thing to do. Equally, people will cut down on marketing at times when they should actually be looking to increase it, because this is a time when you can actually start to share lots of value, bring people into your ecosystem, and then as things start to turn, you can start to ride the wave. So what this graphic is particularly designed to show is that, let's say you're turning over £250,000 a year, and you want your turnover to increase by to £400,000 every year. Every month you delay making a decision is actually costing you £12,500. If you're someone who's below the VAT threshold of 50,000 and you want to bring it to 100,000, it's costing you £4,167 per month every month you delay making a decision. So this is what I would say. This is one of the reasons I was saying, look at things like bounce back loans. Obviously, only take on borrowing for what's sustainable for your business. But cash flow is king. It's really important to make sure you've got cash in your business, especially now. Some of it you preserve, keep just a little bit of money, fuel in the tank so you can trade your way through. The other part, reinvest in good money. So it would be in assets to help you leverage growth in your business. And it can also include marketing as well. So look at that, and that will mean that you're no longer going backwards anymore. You're starting to make some really positive decisions in terms of moving forwards. I've lost my mouse pointer again. Just give me a second. Yeah, so in fact, here we are, Jubilee Saving Trust. We ran this for our clients and some of our prospects and supporters. This is some people here who joined us. This was for Cows Week. The year before we did something on the 10th, we actually got Tower Bridge opened up. Actually, yeah, that's right. Tower Bridge opened up, which is fantastic. And I've seen this before, but we are really here with you to support you along that journey. We know that life can be pretty tough. We're here to support you through business growth. Again, I'm not going to go into any details about our service particularly at the moment, and even tomorrow I'm going to skim over it, to be frank. But we do have a range of services, on one hand starting about £1,500, but more typically if it's a done with you service, it might be a 13k to 25k investment over 12 months, and we can actually run the campaigns for you or with you, I should say, as well as being part of a member of the community. But don't worry, I'm not going to be sort of pitching that to you, so it's worth taking easily. And now, obviously, we're coming up to the point where it's near the end, so actually I've caught up some time, which is good. So I think before we start talking about this, what we'll do is perhaps focus on the competition in a minute as well, but we'll also look at some of the questions that come out on the feed. So coming into that mural, if we just move to that for a moment or two, if that's okay.
Okay, right. There's quite a long one here from Marja.
Yeah.
When people connect with you via a standard invite on LinkedIn and you accept, you engage with them or wait for them to engage with you? I used to ask people what inspired them to connect, but very few people answer.
Yeah.
That's one question.
Yeah, okay. Let me just read that. Just do you accept all connection requests? Oh, yeah. No, that's a lovely question. We should have, it's like we almost gave you a £20 note beforehand, Marja. Thank you very much for that one. Yeah, so the first one is interesting. In reality, there is, I think I can remember that. Yeah, can you just remove that mural so again it's not blocking the screen? So Marja, basically there's two distinct parts to it. If you asked me 6 or 7 years ago, okay, in fact it was more than that, probably 8 years ago, I used to be quite selective over the people I'd accept connection requests from, okay? And again, I'm not going to claim credit for this at all. There's a couple that some of you may know on this course. I know Keith, you do. I think some other people do. They're called Thomas and Penny Power. They used to run a network called Academy, not Academy, the Academy. Okay, and Thomas and Penny Power used to talk about being open, random, and supportive, and then being controlled and selective in the way you reach out to people. My view on LinkedIn generally is if someone connects with you, really don't worry about it too much. If obviously they look as they've got two heads and they're obviously a spammer and this type of stuff, which actually in reality is very difficult to tell, okay, for all sorts of reasons. Generally, I would just say accept people into your network. Imagine you're going out networking, as a case in point again. Would you just ignore someone because you didn't think they were your ideal prospect? Of course you're not going to, because bear in mind, it's the people they know in their outer network who it creates all the opportunities. And a lot of people actually are really, the vast majority of people are really nice people. So why not just be social and accept it? Now, so I wouldn't actually bother particularly asking that question. See whether they start to engage with you. Okay, it's quite an interesting one. Or if you've got a genuine interest in that person, then ask some very relevant questions. But I wouldn't just send a standard reply as to say, as a matter of interest, what wanted to make you engage with you. Because actually, sometimes people just can't be bothered. Now, we always do. We always do reply to messages like that, but others don't. And it doesn't mean so they're just not interested in you. It's just that they sometimes don't quite get the context. So I wouldn't worry about it too much as far as that's concerned. Just be open, random, supportive, and then bear in mind that your network reach is exponentially increasing through your second and third level connections by doing that. Now, the second part to that question was, I've forgotten the second part of the question again. This brings up. I remember.
I've got to find it. The one, isn't it? Yeah.
Right. Okay.
You accept all connection requests.
Actually, I think.
Or are you selective about who you allow in your network?
I think I've just answered that. Actually, I didn't realise I had, but I've just answered it. So hopefully, Marjorie, that helps a little bit. What other lovely ones we got there?
Now, unfortunately, I didn't make a note of the Facebook user's name. How would you deal with bogus connections? This person had a finance connection, which seemed genuine. A month later, he disappeared, I think.
Right, okay. Interesting enough, it's a bit like you, if you don't mind me saying, you've actually hidden your identity here. slightly pulling your leg here again, just for maybe a comment. Okay, all right. So, no, but seriously though, I wouldn't read too much of that. And obviously, LinkedIn do have a problem with fake accounts. You'll probably find for every hundreds of connections on LinkedIn, you might find five which are like duplicate accounts or fake accounts. It's LinkedIn had a purge about a year ago, and in fact, a lot of innocent people actually found their accounts blocked. Okay, in fact, they had another purge about a year prior to that. But last year, they were actually a lot better prepared. And when people were asked to produce photo ID and things like that, which is fair enough, and of course the accounts were unblocked again, it was fine. Okay, so it may be that person, some people are just not, taking someone else's point from earlier on, they're just not very engaged on LinkedIn. Okay, and also let's take the police or the armed forces or the fire service or perhaps someone in the council who's responsible for tenders. They're going to get, they're either going to be wanting to hide their existence a lot because perhaps they're dealing with some sensitive issues, or equally, they just get, if they're responsible for tenders, they're just going to get probably bombarded because everyone's going to be honing in on them. It's just like HR managers. HR managers are an interesting one because poor HR director, HR manager gets, coached all the time. So this is why you have to be quite smart over these type of things. So just because their profile isn't there or they don't have a headshot, don't necessarily assume it's a fake profile. It may be, but it may not. It may equally not be. Okay, so I hope that's answered that one.
Okay, that was actually from Leroy.
Okay.
This is from Marja. Do you consider
Sorry, Leroy. By the way, actually, what wasn't directed to you personally by that comment, I happen to know you're a very caring person. You also run a fantastic social enterprise. So, in fact, two businesses that one's a social enterprise. So keep up the good work. That's why I like to know your name, because I could be more personal. Right. Okay.
Okay. So this is Marja. Do you consider resellers as outsourced sales force, and how about affiliates?
Yes, yes, I would do. In fact, Michael Shellard, who we referred to earlier on, is an example of that. And in fact, some other clients where they rely a lot on a partner network or wholesaler network. Affiliates are a bit different. Affiliates, there are some areas it can be sort of very much marketing type stuff and all this type of stuff, and people don't like to feel they're dealing with people who are just purely motivated by the commission they can make on the sale. Okay, so but yeah, you can find good. What I would say is it's better for finding associates and partners rather than affiliates. If it's affiliates, go out to Google or go out to Facebook for that. But it doesn't mean to say it can't work for affiliates, but just be careful how you go about it. Okay. Now, I'm conscious of time. I think.
Okay, I think we're there anyway.
What we'll do though is I don't want to rush anyone off. By the way, I'd gladly stay on for an extra 10 or 15 minutes. But out of respect to people's time, what I think we should do is cover the remaining 3 or 4 slides, and which includes the competition. And then I would happily stay on for a bit and we can answer a few more questions. And equally, if we've missed a few, just please re-input your question again if you feel like we've missed it, because we get like this massive scrolling list. It's very easy to get lost part of the way through. So let me just go back to this again for a second. Okay, so I think those of you who've joined us the rest of the week, you know what this is. Tomorrow, this is going to be made available to people. Someone is going to actually win that. I've in fact been drafting all the questions today to get that live. I haven't quite finished it actually. It takes quite a while to work this out. So it'll be ready for tomorrow, and will be a live competition. And there will be one winner of that. There'll also be 2 £50 runner-up prizes as well. And this is going to be based around, you'll be getting a laptop. You'll also be getting a 12-month membership package. We'll also get a full training package with that, a lot of that be online training package. You also get access to our online breakthrough boardrooms and everything else that sort of goes with it. That's all included. The software itself will enable you to run your own campaigns that we provide, okay? But if you want, I would say that if you want something which is more of a done with you thing, we can also offer you that as well. And what we would do is, if you want to go for one of the done with you campaigns instead, and you actually won the prize, we would actually offset that against the other one. So you would generally get 7K off of something else instead as one of our upgraded packages. But this is a great new service we're introducing. We're very excited about it, and but one person is going to win it tomorrow. Okay, so moving on from that a little bit. So I think you've already we covered this many times. Now, just a quick reminder on here. For those of you who may have missed one of the days, this is the last chance really you've got to watch the footage from previous days, okay? And what I suggest you do is you make notes. If you do decide to do that, I'd suggest you follow the same confirmation link. Just bear me a second. Muriel, you've got the link, haven't you? Can you just
I have.
That for me, please? And just going to try and
challenge confirmation, yeah?
Yes, so let me just find that on here as well, so we've got it on the screen. If I can find it. Right, there we go. It's this one here, okay? So if that's the URL that you actually need, okay, but we'll put it in the chat as well, because we can just copy
I have done.
the notepad. Okay, so, and if let's say you missed Tuesday's one, in the confirmation page, just choose Tuesday, okay? Because that way we know you've actually watched it, and that's going to be the runner-up prize tomorrow. We're going to look at what people have attended or watched afterwards as part of that. The first prize doesn't rely on that, but the runner-up prize does. Okay, so it's just worth bearing that in mind. Okay, so moving on from there. Lost my screen. There we go. Yeah, so, oh yes. Now, a number of you today may be on here from Look Forward Thursdays, okay? We've actually amalgamated today because normally our Look Forward Thursday sessions is every Thursday at 5 o'clock, as the name suggests. And next week, if you want to join us, this is available for everyone, free of charge. We've got a fantastic guest on, David Fox-Pitt, who's got an MBE. He's actually raised over £40 million for good causes. So he's almost a bit like a Captain Tom, that lives in Scotland, but very much into outdoor adventures and everything else like that. Now he's going to be sharing a lot of his insights, and I think we've got a couple of people on here from community interest companies here as well, so I think you find this really interesting. And the way you get to that, Muriel, can you copy and paste that link into the chat as well?
No, I can't. Let me find it. That's
okay. Give me a second. Just going to find it here as well. So got so many things here. Where is it here? Give me a second.
Right, I haven't got it, so I'll type it in.
Okay, you got it there, right. It's frustrating. And previous lessons. I haven't put in my thing here. Sorry about that. But basically, if you go to businessgrowthbureau.com/events and choose live streams, it won't be showing on the page until tomorrow. But if you choose next week's one, you can choose recurring events, so you can book in multiple weeks as well. It's something we run free of charge every week. Okay, and so you know how to go via the confirmation page. Just Muriel's displayed that a moment ago. It's challenge confirmation, and moving on a little bit from there. What's for tomorrow? What's planned for tomorrow? We've got your action plan, and what's now for 2020 and beyond. And also, just to give you the heads up, this is just so you can just think about this a little bit between today and tomorrow. The 2 tiebreaker questions, I'm going to give you a chance to grab these now. Now, I'm going to bring this up on the screen. Neil, could you put these in the chat as well, please, for me? So, again, guys and girls, what I suggest you do is just grab these links from your live stream, okay, which should appear on your page. In a second. There we go. So there's a little bit of a reminder, okay? So the main prize is for the laptop. So that's the first box, okay? And that's where it says the main prize to win laptop and service. This is a tiebreaker question at the end. So we're expecting a number of people to come up with the right answer. So the tiebreaker question would be, I'd like to grow my business because, okay? Just put a phrase in there, which might be perhaps 20, 30 words. It could be 10 words, it's up to you. And the runner-up question is for an Amazon voucher. I've enjoyed these 5 days most because, and then just indicate why you've enjoyed them. And then say we will have a third one as well, which is based more on what you've done the last few days. So you're able to put that in the chat.
I'm just finding it. Sorry, you emailed it to me, didn't you?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think you've got a Word document you were telling me, didn't you?
Yeah, I've got it.
Yeah. Okay. Right, now this is competition time. Okay, the competition, this is actually going to be a very easy one today. Now, we have got a slight challenge because there is a time delay. How are we going to do this? So YouTube follows about 20 seconds behind Facebook, okay? So, right, I think, well, I don't think there's any way around it, unfortunately. The person who comes up with the answer with this correctly, the first person who comes up with the answer correctly will be the winner. Now, in order to win, you've got to put your name in there as well. So if you're via the group, you've got to put your name in there, otherwise it'll be discounted, okay? If you're via the page or YouTube, you don't need to, okay? And what we will do is, you might appear to be the winner on Facebook, but if someone on YouTube is answering, might appear to be after you, okay? But because of the 20-second delay, I'm going to have to ask Muriel to try and help me arbitrate this to make sure it's fair. Okay, so good luck, Muriel. Okay, so the question around this is, if I describe to you what is the perfect lead generation, prospect nurturing, and sales optimization system, what do we call that? Okay, so what we describe as the perfect lead generation, prospect nurturing system, and sales optimization system. What do we actually call that? So the first person that wins, allowing for the time differences, will actually win the £20 Amazon voucher. So give everyone a little bit of time to answer that. Okay, so just wait a second. Let's bring up the comments so we can see those as well. Interesting, okay. Right, lovely. Lots of lovely questions, answers coming here. I'm going to deliberately delay it by about a minute, and then we will announce it. And also, if you've got any closing questions, by all means, drop them in here as well. Okay, got lots of answers coming up here. Keep them coming. Good. Give everyone a little bit of time. I'll give everyone about another 25 seconds starting now. Okay, so then we'll close this. Okay, let's have a bit of a look. Sorry, a second. Okay. So it's literally like scrolling off the page as soon as we try and go through it. So we closed it now, Muriel. So
yeah,
okay, just wait me a second. Okay. Right. If it's Facebook, I think I know who the winner is. But Muriel, about YouTube, has anyone on YouTube at the moment put an answer in?
YouTube comes through fine.
Yeah, there is a delay on YouTube. Actually,
yeah, but yeah.
Okay, I think it varies. Some days it can be up to 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So what time we can see that on Facebook, Kevin G is the first person to come up with the right answer. Oh no, sorry, it's Kevin.
No.
Sorry, you haven't. I do apologise, Kevin. Bear me a second. The person's come up with the right answer on Facebook, but you're not necessarily the winner, Alex. So just bear with me a moment. It's Alex R. He's referred to it as the social sewing blueprint. Kevin,
Yep.
you're really, really close. Okay, you're really close. Okay, so but I'm afraid I have to disallow it. So I do apologise. And on YouTube, it would appear that Renato is there, but allowing for the time delay, Muriel, who's the winner?
Well, I don't know, Rupert, because on YouTube there's no time showing.
Right, it's showing 6:08 here. It's showing
Here.
yeah. Right. Oh dear, oh dear. Right. Well, I'm going to be very nice to you both. Okay. I'm afraid, Kevin, I can't be nice to you. I'm so sorry. We just missed out on that one. What we'll do is we'll give Alex and Renato £50 vouchers each. Okay. So I think we can't be fair on that, really, can we?
How much?
It's £50 each. Oh, sorry. God, I've done myself. It's
You have. It's £25 each.
I just do it, Muriel. If I say something, I say it. Yeah, so there we
Well,
go.
50 each.
Yeah, go on. Oh, sorry. Excuse my language.
That's my wages gone this month.
Yeah, I will be really nice. I feel really bad for Kevin, actually. Let's give Kevin £20 as like a consulate, like as a booby prize. All right. So the three of you. So if you could very kindly send Muriel an email. So it's muriel@businessgrowthbureau.com. That's muriel@businessgrowthbureau.com. If you could each send an email with your details, but in particular, the email address you got associated with your Amazon account. Okay. So it may well be different from your normal one, but just confirm that because we don't want to risk sending the voucher to the wrong person by mistake. So Muriel, have you got a note of that as well? Okay.
Yeah, it's just going in chat.
Okay, lovely. All right. So I'm very happy to stay on for a few minutes and answer any closing questions. Is there, Muriel, any that perhaps we missed along the way that we perhaps could do a little bit better by? Or perhaps
I don't think so, but let me just have a quick.
Right. Actually, Nikki's made a really good point. I'm going backwards at the moment.
Right. Okay. Let me find it. Ah, yeah, I've got yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Is that the same person, Muriel?
Yeah.
If there's anyone else, Muriel, try and spot them while I'm having a look at this one. Yeah. Okay. So Nikki, when I accept a LinkedIn invitation, I reply with a question asking what prompted me to get in touch. I liked your profile. Show me your profile. I clicked connect. Yeah, so that's fine. In real terms, Nikki, what I would say is it actually doesn't really add much value. I really wouldn't worry about it too much. If you're going to ask a question like that, I would just have a look at their profile, and I'd try and link in something in their profile which you feel ties in with theirs. So it actually appears not to be so much like a copy and paste message. Okay, but to be frank, it's not really worth the candle. I would, if there's a genuine interest there from your point of view, then ask a genuine question back. If it's someone who otherwise just leave them to perhaps initiate the next part of the conversation. Okay, that's broadly what I would say. Okay, so anyone else, Muriel, that we might have missed along the way?
No.
Okay, if anyone feels missed anything, it's your last chance to shout out. Right. Okay, lovely. I think in which case we'll call it a wrap. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. Really do appreciate it. We're starting at 4:55, give or take, tomorrow. And if you do your bit of homework as well, for those of you who are still with us, by the way, which I can still there's a lot of you with us still, if you please complete those two answers, what I suggest you do is type it in a notepad, okay, your two answers, okay, so it's ready to go. Also, what you could do to put yourself at a slight advantage, and this is the last clue I'm going to give you, okay, but I'm giving you this because you'll stay on to the very last minute, is if you were to pre-populate your first name, last name, email address, okay, in Notepad, so you can copy and paste those in, that will also help you with the competition tomorrow. It's going to be a series of multiple choice questions. You're going to have 10 multiple choice questions and a few others as well. But it'll be very easy to do. If you don't know the answers to one of those, you've got a 1 in 4 chance of getting it right against that. There are always 4 responses. Okay, so just give it a good go. Go with the whole spirit of the whole thing. We'll all have lots of fun. Anyway, have a lovely time, everyone. Thank you very much for joining.
Rupert,
Yes?
can I just put one more on very quickly? Lucy's saying, thank you for today. You are too nice, Rupert. She's had to go to a meeting.
Well, thank you anyway. All right, everyone. Thank you very much. Thoroughly enjoyed you all being here. See you all tomorrow. Looking forward
Take care.
to it.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.